Hello. In this recording from our Justia webinar, LinkedIn for Baby Boomer Lawyers, Mark Halpert discusses why boomer lawyers need to be active on LinkedIn, how to explore their brand telling, share their thoughts and views, and how to ask others to comment and interact with them. Remember, if you'd like to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Hi, folks. Nice to see you, and we are very pleased with the attendance today. So let's get you guys ready to understand how to make this LinkedIn thing work for you. I'm a boomer, just like you. I was born in 1955, right in the middle of the boomer era. I want you to understand that LinkedIn now has over 1 billion subscribers. People who are trading information, who are talking to each other about their business needs, and there is a huge market there just waiting for you. I'm going to set the stage a little bit, and that is, if you came out of graduate school, law school, whatever you did in your education, and you went into an office, it probably looked much like this. Cubicles, rows and rows and rows. You could get lost even trying to find your way through. I remember that quite well. The hierarchy on the floor was based on how close to the window you sat. That's where I came into banking in 1979. We had a dress code. You couldn't leave the desk without a coat or a tie and a coat and a pencil and a pad in your hand. There were very gender-specific roles. I was one of the first to report to a female vice president in the bank that I started in. People came to me and said, "How can you do this?" Well, didn't bother me. So I moved on. They just apparently needed to a lot faster. Everything. You remember it. It was quite a time. Today, offices look quite different. I'm using my kids as an example. Very much like the man with the baby. My son is probably doing business on a call, on a Zoom call with his child next to him, or waiting for the child to wake up so he can attend to the child. This is how work is done. Remotely, some people never go to the office. In fact, there are businesses out there that are entirely remote, no bricks and mortar. Anything goes. I've been to LinkedIn's headquarters in New York. There were dogs in the office. There were skateboards. There were, they took their laundry. There was a kitchen, all that sort of thing. We never had this. At least I never had this. Communication today is so different. Attention spans match the briefness of messages that are traded all day, all day, 24/7, 365. DEI, heterogeneity of the workforce, that's all seems to be changing right now. So we have more changes to attend to. Let's define boomers. Like I said, I was born right in the middle between 1946 and 1964. We are at a point, many of us, where we need to make a decision. Do we retire, refire, or re-inspire? And that's a different answer for everybody in this room. You can even do shades of retirement. You can do shades of refiring to a new industry where you can have a foot in many industries at the same time. You're going to be an investor in a company and advise them on legal matters. There are so many different things that we can do. We, boomers, possess natural instincts and historical points of view. And companies do go out of their way, and these are enlightened companies, do go out of their way to hire boomers for some of the richness of our experience. There are other companies that don't want to hire boomers. This is the way of the world. We learned by doing, and we came through unprecedented technology boosts in our careers. I remember when I first started banking, we had a dumb terminal, and we could communicate to other branches of the bank globally. It was unique. It was revolutionary for the time. We were able to do things that no one else could do. That was highly unusual. My experience was amazing from that moment on, and I recognized technology was something I needed to embrace, not fight. Characteristics of boomers. Many of us are looking to go to another position or open our own firm or become a consultant, where you've left a company recently, you want more comfort, you want to transition, you want to retire at a later age, you're not quite finished yet, you want to work full-time, you want to work part-time, you want to self-determine when is the time to retire, but you're just not quite ready yet. So the only way to really stay in the field is to communicate with others in the field. And that means of communication right now, globally, is LinkedIn. So let's continue on here. Your career narrative is what you're going to put on LinkedIn. And if you don't think people care or are interested, you are not correct. Because if they come to your profile and they see something that is minimalistic, has very little information, looks like you cut and paste your resume or your CV or your your bio from the law firm that you work at into your LinkedIn profile, they will leave you. They will not come back. You get a nanosecond these days to make an impression. So you need to tell them your career story. Where's the path? How are you a contributor to whatever organization you are in now, have been in the past? How has your past made your present? How does your present indicate your future? We have a tremendous amount to offer. We're not quite finished. And our career story is what you have to relate to today's competitive job market, consulting market, or looking for new clients. Depends upon what you're doing right now. So we uniquely offer deep experience, mature work habits, critical thinking, which is a rarity these days, developed writing capability, which also HR professionals tell me is a definite rarity these days. Our attention spans are longer than our younger colleagues, and we have a commitment to making the customer happy. Another differentiator between us and some of the other generations. So there was an article back in September, and I'll point you to that. The link is here. It came in through LinkedIn's blog. 5 myths about older workers busted. I'm not going to read it to you, but these are typical things that people erroneously think about boomers. We lack creativity. We're never satisfied. We're not productive. We're expensive. We can't do technology. That is so wrong. We do not want to play into that. And that is a real reason why, and these studies prove these are all incorrect. So I'll let you read that at your leisure. I will tell you, you will be able to get a copy of the slides in PDF format after we're finished with this presentation. So our soft skills are not always the strongest. I'm amazed when I work with attorneys about my age. I say to them, tell me what you want others to know about you. How can you tell me what you learn that makes you the single candidate that the client should hire? And many of them are without words. Or they give me something that is so milquetoast as to be uninteresting, and boring never wins that game. Many lack social media skills, thumb their nose at social media, don't respect the platform or use the platform that they've chosen to use to attract the intended audience. And those platforms are changing daily. Just look at what's going on with Blue Sky, which is a brand new platform, gaining more than 1 million people every day. Interview skills, well, when we are interviewed by younger generation hiring managers, we need to tell the richness of our story. We need to make them understand we have that perspective that's really important, but many cannot do that. They think their resume does the speaking for them. And frankly, folks, no one reads resumes anymore. And I bet you not that many people read your bio or read the bio on your website for the time it was intended, for the characteristics you want them to read. They just don't have time. So we are perceived with ageism, and we need to work on overcoming that. Technical skills, as I said earlier, many of our fellow boomers do not accept online technology as the way to go. If they have, it's been kicking and screaming. Many are not comfortable behind a computer screen, and many are not comfortable in front of a mobile screen. Many are not comfortable in Zoom or will reluctantly agree to Zoom. So video is so important for everything we do. And you really need to become very comfortable with Zoom and with other video platforms. And the tech is changing so quickly. So we have to stay on top. If you've lacked the time to learn LinkedIn, now is the best time because tomorrow will not afford you enough time. And I say that because there's a lot to learn on LinkedIn. We've had over 200 changes to LinkedIn in 2024 alone. And my prediction, and it seems to be borne out, is that there will be a major change to the user interface to what LinkedIn looks like in 2025. So get ready. One day you'll log on to LinkedIn. It's going to look completely different. No warning, just going to happen. All your material will be there. It's just going to be shuffled and put in different places. So we really need to get our story straight and honest and open and described as a career narrative so all can see and become enamored with you as that client, as you as that consultant, with you as that expert. So start thinking, what are your transferable skills that you can bring if you want to go to a new environment? What are your transferable skills that you can impress your prospect that you are the one to help them through the legal and other issues that they face? How do you stand out from younger colleagues, younger competitors? Are you an old-fashioned firm, or is a younger, more technologically capable firm going to eclipse you? What skills can you on your own refine? I've nuanced a lot of those to you already. And what tools and techniques make your work more efficient? And that may or may not be artificial intelligence. I have definite opinions on that, but that's not for this presentation. So down on the bottom left-hand corner, you will see a research study that came out a few months ago from LinkedIn. I would recommend you take a look at that. We are the most purpose-driven generation in the workplace right now. And that study talks to that point. So boomers wrestle with, oh my God, what do I do now? What is the new now? How do I keep up with it? We were not taught to talk about ourselves. We are not sure exactly what today's marketplace is expecting of us, and that's okay. That is where we need validation, and we need to project ourselves as best we can and learn from mistakes and successes. So be ready. Don't be scared like this guy. Be prepared to show how you earned your stripes and your gray hair. So the idea is to keep learning, fill in those gaps. And LinkedIn has an entire program in it called LinkedIn Learning, where you can take courses that LinkedIn has curated and put together that will help you with all sorts of technological and other issues. You need to deal with what is going on in today's contemporary workplace, reorient to new realities, show your younger colleagues you're ready to team up with them, but you have some things that they can learn from you as much as you have to learn from them. And this is a new emerging role. If you go into a new situation with an emerging mentality, you will be successful. But that will take some doing. So let's start with the premise. No one should ever tell your career story other than you, because only you can tell it, and only you can tell it the best. You know the details and the themes that you want people to take away. You know why events happened and how your career moved through those events. And no one can tell your why. Why do you do what you do? Not what do you do. You tell why you do what you do to your very best capability. And if you can't tell it, then find somebody who can coach you and help you tell it on LinkedIn. And that's where people like me come into play, because I am your coach. I am going to be like your coach in high school football or whatever you played. I'm going to tell you, okay, Joe, good enough. but you can do better because I know you can do better. Take another run around the track. And while you're running, think about how you can do better next time. And that's the coach in me that always tries to extract from my clients the very best that I can get them express themselves. And I've had tremendous success with people who came to me not even wanting to talk about themselves. So one, how do you do this? Get out from under yourself. And if you feel like this individual in the picture, you're dragging yourself through the mud, then tell yourself, yes, I can do it. Tell yourself, I have a new attitude and I will do it. And leave your toxic self-image behind, because that is only going to translate into how you express yourself to people younger than you, above you, and below you. That is not where you want to be. Get out from under yourself. Embrace those technologies. Know how to speak to the right audience. Know what platform to use to speak to the audiences. And I will tell you that if you're doing business anywhere in the world, from down the hall with another company to across the world in several time zones away, you want to be on LinkedIn. This is the water cooler of business education and business ideas that is going gangbusters right now, growing dramatically. Learning capabilities abound. Only you have to tap into it. You will attract new followers and connections because you will be a provider, a thought leader of valuable material. You will mentor people. You will introduce people. You will refer people. It does all of that. You just have to know how to do that and want to do it. My word, I made this word up, is amazinger. If I sit and talk to somebody for a few moments, I can hear a couple of amazing things that I might suspect they are capable of. They have to tell me how they are amazinger than anybody else who sounds similar. You have to be amazinger than the competition on your LinkedIn profile. You have to prove that every single day. You just can't put your profile up there and hope people will buy into it. You have to be absolutely sure that you are saying what you want them to walk away with immediately in different ways, multiple times, so they do absorb it, because they don't absorb it the first time they hear it. And you have to reinforce the fact that what you said on your profile is really who you are and what you're all about and what you want to be remembered for, in the way that you post articles and opinions and comments and everything else you post on LinkedIn daily. Self-assess, be introspective in how you use your words and what actions you actually employ to bring people together, to be a giver, because givers get, and be interesting, even to those with the most incredibly short attention spans. If you capture their interest, they will read as far as you can keep them down into your LinkedIn profile. And that's your opportunity to make that impression. And review your profile quarterly and keep improving your delivery in everything you do. You know that, but most people never review their LinkedIn profile quarterly. They go on to new firms, and their old phone number from their old firm is their contact information. That's just one thing that I have noticed often. The email address is wrong. The links are wrong. All that. Please be careful. You make one impression. And if you make an impression of having missed a detail or left information that's old, you're instantly assumed not to be in the running. That is the fastest way to have people shut down on you and never give you that chance again. Make that competition boring. Let them stay boring. Let them continue to do what they've been doing on LinkedIn for the past 14, 15 years. You need to be at the forefront of what LinkedIn allows you to do and to stand out from the crowd. Be the yellow guy in a sea full of blue guys. All the blue guys sound and look the same. Tell stories. Raise your finger. Tell people, this is what I want you to take away. This is what I want you to relate to. And every time you do that, you will be more memorable than your competition. Eclipse them. LinkedIn is a power tool. And like a power chainsaw or any other power tool, if you use it incorrectly, you can do damage. You can do damage to your reputation or to your brand. Use LinkedIn to communicate efficiently. about why you do what you do. There's that why again. Why are you amazinger? There's that word I use a lot. Why are you the one? Or at least to get onto the short list of those to be considered for the work. And know when to ask for assistance, because it's totally fine to need help. And this thing is changing so quickly that you may have missed several good little subtools that you could use if someone isn't there to help you. So that's where people like me come in. LinkedIn seems hard. It seems hard because it's really counterintuitive. It's set up really poorly on the LinkedIn page, on your profile page. It's hard to learn. It's difficult in its logic. You have to approach your LinkedIn profile with an overall plan. And it's like writing an outline of what do you want to say and where do you want to say it? One section of LinkedIn at a time. Go at it, write it, let it cool, and write it again. And keep writing it until you love it, until it says exactly what you want it to say. And be patient with this process because it's not fun and it's not easy. And we weren't trained to do this. But experiment. And when you get it to the point where you think it looks really like you want it, take it to 2 or 3 of your best, honest friends and ask them, does this really sum me up? Would you buy from me? Because I read this, I wrote this, I'll buy from me based upon what I see here. But I need to see somebody else tell me that too. I need to know how I appear outwardly, not from me to you, but how they look at me and see me. So experiment with it and take the criticism because it's meant constructively. No two professionals are alike. You are a brand. Just like you go down the grocery store aisle, all the cereal on the aisle, breakfast cereals, all taste the same at the end of the day. They're made of the same stuff. It's what the outside branded box makes people pick it up and want to know what's in this box. What is it that attracts me about this box? So be yourself. Be honest and giving what you want people to know about you from the outside so that they're incented to contact you and know what's on your inside. You can't get that qualification phone call or Zoom call unless they see you on LinkedIn and they are attracted by something you say. And there are so many stories that you can relate and so much experience that you can project. You will win every time you use stories if you're memorable and you're conducive to contact. Build your brand uniquely around what makes you a professional. So the first book I'm going to recommend that you look at or read is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And if you've read it again, in the past, read it again. And if you don't have time to read the book, and it's a very fast read, there's the link on YouTube for his 18-minute TED Talk. And that is quite a good piece. There's a woman in Australia named Lynn Kazali, and she does illustrations of the central meanings of books, very complex books, in single pages of her artwork. And I took an excerpt from her page that summarizes Start With Why, and you see the bullseye. The bullseye on the outer circle is what? Anybody can talk about what. What is pedestrian? What is fifth grade? What is not interesting? Why is where you want to be. Why is what you want to project. And let other people tell how well you do your why. So if this sounds pie in the sky, it is. And you know what? Been doing it 14 years, it really works. So I want you to think about this open-mindedly, read the book or at least watch the TED Talk and absorb the brilliance of what Sinek is saying here because it's so simple as to be brilliant. Your resume, your CV, and let's add your bio page on the firm's website is formulaic, is structured. If it's a resume, it's 2 pages of factoids and it's always backward looking. The reader only knows what you did, has no idea what you do right now, or where their future could be tied to your future if they hire you today. You need to market that brand and use LinkedIn to do that, because LinkedIn allows you to talk about who you are today based upon where you came from, and give glimpses and hints of what you're doing and where you're doing it for your future. So use rich, full sentences with first person active voice, accomplishments driven. It's not a resume of factoids and bullet points. You can add so much more to your narrative by showing honors, awards, publications, and put the links to publications so they see what you're writing and doing. Who's endorsed you for the skills you self-perceive having? Who's recommended you for skills you had and they've actually witnessed you perfect and perform those skills? Let them tell stories of the time when you were under the gun and you accomplished something they didn't think was possible. All in one place on LinkedIn. And you get much, much more space than 2 pages. So you can go into much more detail and you can go into much more information. You could add multimedia. You can add podcasts, snips. You can add all sorts of video and graphics to make your page a lot more interesting than just black and white text. Whatever you do on your LinkedIn profile, it should complement the bio on your website or your firm's website. And so the reader is compelled to contact you because you've so well articulated your why. They want to know more. They need to get you on the phone or on the Zoom call. And when they speak to you in real life, that will reiterate the fact they've made the right decision to contact you based on what they read on your LinkedIn. If there's a disconnect between your LinkedIn and the way you express yourself, they will shorten that phone call or that Zoom call and move on. You've lost that opportunity. So please be yourself in everything you do. Use the pronoun in LinkedIn, I, and use powerful verbs. On the bottom left, you see 185 powerful verbs to use. And I can't tell you how many highly educated people speak on LinkedIn using verbs like was, has, made, did. There's so many better ways to say what you want them to say, to know. They need to hear you speak with gusto. So use your voice and use the personality you have. Use business class prose, but if you want to veer away and to really be yourself, that's okay too. There is room to be fun, interesting, and engaging. Never be boring, or else you win boring accounts, and you don't want boring accounts. You want lively, fascinating accounts who will stick with you throughout and rehire you at a later date or refer you to someone else because they so enjoyed the experience of working with you, and their initial impact of your LinkedIn profile made them want to contact you, and they made that right decision. So be yourself. I plus power verbs in everything you do. What I'd like you to think about is you're on your way to your bus, your subway, whatever it is, to your car. You're busy, you're rushing to get there, and you pass by a newsstand. And there's a newspaper on the newsstand, and that newspaper has the headline, "Why Choose Me?" Why me? Not everybody else, just why me? And you can get their attention with a headline, and the first paragraph under that headline is the lead paragraph, which people spend all their career learning to write to make the reader want to read more. So the headline makes them want to read that lead. The lead makes them want to read the body of the article. And your article is the experience story of your career. Read all about me. My past leads to my present. My present indicates my future. You hear the sound, the time continuum I'm trying to bring to you. That's the way to lick LinkedIn, to do well on LinkedIn. And while we're talking about it, your past could be everything you've done even before you went to law school, even where you went to college, even where you clerked, even who you work for, what firm you cut your teeth in, where you went. I was speaking to a guy yesterday. He was in a completely different area of the law in his initial associate positions, and he left that area of the law and went to a completely different area and opened his own firm. Why? What's the story behind that? If you don't tell us, we scratch our head, we wonder if there's something wrong with the person we're reading, and we leave. So there's some explanation that's important here. We're hiring today. Where'd you come from? What'd you learn? What were your accomplishments? You can't always talk about what case you worked on. You can't always talk about what you won because you can't, for ethics purposes, promise them anything like that. But you can talk about what you learned, how you earned your stripes, how you rose up in those firms, and why you rose so fast. And once they read who you are today and what you're working on today, you talk about what your future is. I'm interested in this aspect of the law and its future orientation based upon changes we're going through right now. And it might be tech law, it might be cannabis law. These are all future oriented. At least tell people where you came from, why they should tie themselves to your shirt tails and travel with you on the legal journey into the future you're to have with them. So your past makes them comfortable. Your present makes them more comfortable. They contact you today. You need to be sure they understand this is a relationship. This is marketing. This is how they will benefit from you and why you can benefit them. So there was an article several years ago. Wow, it's actually been almost more than 12 years ago, from Lois Geller about branding. And I want you to think of yourself as a brand. I talked about it a moment ago. I'm repeating myself in different contexts because I want you to carry these themes home. Your brand is what you're here to develop. The last thing you want to do is go down the beaten path. So you want to head down your own road. Your brand has to plant itself in the hearts and minds, especially the hearts of prospects and customers. People buy with their brains, they choose with their hearts. It's a real interesting mix. And when they feel comfortable with you, they're using both their heart and their brain, and probably more their heart, and that gets you the business. There are touch points on LinkedIn that you do not have access to on the work firm's website, on your bio, on anything you produce. What are you still learning? What are you learning new? How are you keeping your CLEs up? What do you learn? What aspect of the law is something that you really want to delve into? Where's the knowledge that you've accumulated? What is the knowledge that you're adding to today? What's your experience in the past? What's your competency? How competent are you? Are you in any of the groups of best lawyers? And there's so many of them. What are your abilities that are outside of your technical expertise? How are you growing? What are you training others in? What are you training in yourself? And all of those come together in skills. What skills do you possess that you have learned through experience and hard work that you bring to every new client? So there's so much more for you to tell about yourself, and it is your job, your imperative to tell us, or we will never know. And then if you don't tell us and we never know, you shortchange yourself, and that's not something that's going to get you any business. So I'm being rather definite here. Touch points reinforce your brand. All of these touch points in black font here are touch points that you can add to your LinkedIn profile in your own words to really talk about why you do what you do and how you are amazinger than the competition. And in all of this, tell stories to the extent you can, because people love to bask in the sunshine of a story and it's the oldest entertainment in the world. The protagonist was challenged. The protagonist fought back. The protagonist won the day. This is what you learn by being that protagonist. Make them want to know more and use stories to illustrate things that you can't really say in writing. You can say them in video. You can show them in graphics. You can give them something to tear their teeth into. And the reader will remember stories much better than a page full of statistics. Do not bore them. Make them salivate. Next, extra material comes from endorsements and recommendations. They add to the brand of you saying about you. This is other people saying that Mark, he says he has skills in these things. Let me tell you how well he has those skills and why he's so good at that. No one can tell it better than you can. But when other people say it on top of what you say, it's that much richer. So you can say anything you want, of course, on LinkedIn, but it has to actually be true, demonstratable, again, for ethics purposes, but within reason. But no one can say anything about you on LinkedIn that you did not approve. And if they say something you did not approve, you can take it off. And that goes to endorsements of skills that they don't know you have. And others' accolades will add that much more golden credence to the things you say about yourself. And cater to your audiences because you never know who your audience is. Anybody who comes along can see your profile. They may not always be attorneys, and in fact, they will not always be attorneys. They may be people who are in the market buying attorney services, and you don't know where it's going to come from. So show brands, show logos, show photos, and slide decks and videos, and capture them visually and mentally. Weave those stories I told you about. All that adds to the tastes and needs of the audience, so they'll remember you. Another book I'll recommend to you, The Startup of You. Especially good, folks, if you're thinking about creating your own firm or you're new in a firm. If you're new in your own firm, emulate and experiment and embrace the ability to do that. You're in beta. And that's what Reid Hoffman says. You are always in beta. You're never a finished product. So have at it. Your career probably wasn't linear. Most people's careers, maybe outside the law, are nonlinear. Mine is certainly nonlinear. I learned by trial and error, picked myself up, amended, and retried, and learned again. Your network is your net worth. The people you practice with, you refer, you comment to, you impress, must cheer you. They must be part of your net worth because they are the people that rely upon you and you on them. So this is a wonderful book. I recommend it. Definitely look at this book in second edition. The cover you're seeing here is second edition. The post-pandemic edition dramatically changed since the first edition, which in itself was a great book. So really, I want you to, if you really need a good read, this is going to be a great place for you to get an idea how you're always in beta. You're never finished. A few ideas for you that I've used on my LinkedIn profile, and then we'll go talk about LinkedIn profiles. I planned every section I wrote. I storyboarded it. I outlined it. I tweaked it. I change it every 3 months or add to it every 3 months or just make sure it's the best it can be every 3 months. I put it on my calendar every 3 months to do that. If you read my profile, you will hear me just as I'm speaking to you right now. I use I as the pronoun, rich verbs, active voice. Repeating that again because it's so important. I show my personality in my activity and in my thoughts. I write a lot. I made my profile show you my journey as I learn because I can teach other people and they can feel good about how they're learning section by section. So my learning story, my career story makes sense. Their career story will make sense by replication. I repeat themes in different ways in different sections. I've done that a few times on this presentation today. I tell you in everything way I can why I do what I do. I encourage conversation, comments, and encourage people to share. And that's where you can find my profile. There are 4 places to be found in the search on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has its own search engine. In your headline, in your about, in your experience, and in your skills. And each section is designed to layer on top of the other. We'll talk about these in a moment, but you'll see that it's all designed to make the reader, and you have to make the reader, want to read down, 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 as far as you can get them to go. So the first place to be visually interesting from the top is the banner. And if your banner looks like the three colors of grayish green that you see at the top, you have not personalized your banner. And I strongly recommend you do that. And it should not be the panorama of or the cityscape of the city you operate in, because that is limiting you. You are likely doing business outside of your metro area. In fact, almost everybody does business globally these days. Whatever it is, it should show you in action. Whatever it is, it should give them a quick glimpse of what it is that you really do in very short words, in powerful pictures, in graphic colors. And I had this designed for me. There are people who do this for a living, and they do a really good job of it. And this is the very first place people come to. If they don't see something interesting here, they are apt to leave or to read even quicker, more quickly, I should say, in the rest of your LinkedIn profile. So definitely make your banner part of your top card, which is, this is your top card you see here. It all works together. This is high level data about you. You talking about you from a 90,000 foot view. You should want the reader to be able to immediately decide if this is what they want to know about. Do they want to know about you? It can be shared. It follows you all over LinkedIn. It is your contact information, very easy to find. We'll talk about that. And your personalized linking. All of this allows you to really come through in a quick glimpse of why you do what you do. LinkedIn gives you this. I don't pay for LinkedIn. I'm not telling you anything that is not available to you for free here in everything I'm showing you. Is your headshot line with a red circle around it? Is it recent? If you had it taken before the pandemic, I guarantee you look different than you did before the pandemic. So people not only put their picture there, but people come to your picture to see what you look like, to get an idea, so that if they meet you at a public place, they can find you, or they might have a much better phone call conversation if they see your picture and they talk to you while they're looking at your LinkedIn profile. That allows you to manage the conversation, allows them to manage the conversation as well. And down the bottom, this is just a very small sample of all the various people that I know. And some of these are the most interesting, and some of them are just showing them as they really are. So show that you're approachable. Be yourself. Your headline, the hardest section of LinkedIn to write, and probably the most important. So a moment ago, I showed you different places where the search can find you. The search primarily can find you by the keywords you use in your headline. So if your headline underneath your name says Principal ABC Law Firm, you've missed a giant opportunity to be found. Change your headline to tell how you can help people, what it is you want them to know about you, keywords that surround you, that you surround yourself with. Show a little of your branding, show a little bit of your trademarking. What is it that you want people to know? You get as much as 220 characters, including spaces, on LinkedIn to produce your headline. After 220, it stops. You can't complete. So this is why it's hard to write. It's the hardest place with all your experience that you have to shrink down all that you need to tell somebody quickly. Be sure to tell them how you can help and who you help. That is key in writing your headline. Okay, so they've read your headline. Now, what do they want to know more? Who is this person? How do I get more information? Well, they might go and look at your website. They might want to know how to get a hold of you by phone. They might want to know where you're located. They might want to email you, all these different places. Folks, the single biggest mistake that most boomer professionals make is they do not put their mobile phone number in their contact information. And what is that doing? It's limiting you to only receiving phone calls during business hours or leaving a message. I would encourage you strongly to have your mobile number there so they can text you, because the world is operating on texts these days. And it is fast and furious. So please change your office number to your mobile number on your LinkedIn profile. You get a place to simplify, personalize your LinkedIn URL. And you can put this everywhere. I'll show you in a minute. So I personalized mine to /Mark Halpert. And when I first got LinkedIn, I had this, what you see in the bottom of the blue box. Well, that's horrible. It shows I haven't taken the time to personalize it. So how do you do that? In the box, in the white box at the bottom, follow those directions and you will be able to do it yourself. Where are you going to use that? You're going to use it on your business card. I guess people use business cards these days. I haven't in a while, but I imagine in today's world, at least some of us are using them. You can put it in your email signature line. Wow, that was a great email. I wonder who this person is. I want to get a hold of them. I want to know more about them. Put it on all your marketing materials, your proposals, your requests for anything that you're asking for, your bio, your resume, your CV. Have a link on your bio page on the firm's website that takes them directly to your LinkedIn page. Very, very important. Don't make them have to search for you because they won't take that time. They'll go on to the competition. After they've read your headline, they want to know more about you, why this is called about. And you get the first 4 lines before they have to click see more, which you see in the bottom right corner of that first box, to make that impression. If you can get them to want to know what's beyond the first 4 lines, bonus, you're getting their attention. And when they do that, all the rest of that falls below it. So it's telling why you, I plus power verbs aimed at the audience that you're trying to sway. Who are you and why do you do it? Using keywords. Keywords in about are probably the second most important place to use keywords that are different or the same as your headline that we talked about before with the 220 characters. Use the space well. In the about section, you get 2,600 spaces, characters, including spaces. 2,600 characters, including spaces. Huge amount of space there. Huge amount of material you can put there. After you're about, they want to know where'd you come from? What are you doing today? Your topmost experience is going to be today's experience, where you're working today. Beneath that is going to be where you were previous to that, and so on and so on. And there's places where you can talk about yourself really well and market yourself by using simple things. Use a question. Want to know how to best use LinkedIn? Well, the answer is I can teach you, customized to your needs. I'm talking directly to my audience. I use a lot of white space in my work. I know I've seen a lot of attorneys' websites that are just been blocks and blocks and blocks of material. Well, you know what, folks? I'm not an attorney. I won't read that. I just don't have that attention span. And a lot of attorneys I'm speaking to are saying to me, they can't read it either because they're coming to the market with the shortened attention span as well. So don't alienate them. Split it up. Make it visually interesting. Make them want to scan it. A good place to make them stop and scan is, here's some quotes of my clients. You don't have to name the client, but you can give them the sense of what you did. 1 or 2 lines. That's it. No fabricating or exaggerating, never promising something that you can't deliver. You know the ethics issues on this. I'm not going to go into them because they would take an entire session. I'm sure you've heard that many, many times, but it's fine within the limits of the ethics requirements in your local, state, NASH, and the ABA, what you can do, enough to show your personality. Now show why you do it. And use logos next to your name, next to the company name, so people can identify where you worked quickly. Their eyes will stop if they recognize a logo. They know people there. They can authenticate you there, that type of thing. These are important. You can get recommendations from people. You want to have recent recommendations. They have to be ethical. They cannot talk about something that is perceived to be replicable in all cases. But it's fine to get a client to recommend you, or fine to get a colleague in another firm that you worked with on a case to recommend you. That's fine. Of course, check with your ethics officers in both the firms, but be sure that this complements the experience section in everything that you're talking about. Manage them for best impressions. And you can hide some of them if they don't apply anymore. You don't want them to know about that anymore. Give some recommendations too, as well as asking for recommendations, because what goes around comes around. The number of recommendations you should have is a little rule that I created a number of years ago, and it seems to hold pretty true. The ideal number of recommendations is a product of 2% times the number of good connections that you know. Quality connections, 2% of the quality connections will give you quality recommendations. If you haven't quite matched 2%, 1%'s fine. Strive for 2. Don't go to 5 because it sounds like you're really patting yourself on the back or you're making yourself bigger than you are. 2% seems to be a nice, even, good number, just by experience over the many years. Skills and endorsements. Wonderful guy, Seth Godin. If you're not familiar with him, you should follow his blogs, his blog posts. They're wonderful, intelligent, very, very thought-provoking. He wrote, attitude is a skill. You can learn math, you can learn any of this stuff, but you can also learn to be more empathetic, passionate, focused. The more you learn to be better at something, the more it's a skill. And if it's a skill, it's yours if you want it, and you can never lose it. It's always there. So I like to say skills are cards that I play at the card table of life. I pull the card out of my back pocket. I play it on the table. I use that skill to win what I'm trying to win or make the impression I'm trying to make. And when I'm finished, I put that skill card back in my pocket to be used again. So much the better for having just used it. So this was such a good post that it really hit a nerve with me about how to explain skills. I'm a trainer. I train people on how, from my training. I teach people, and I can create the skill on my profile and can tell if I want to be endorsed for that skill, and you probably do. And eventually you'll get close to 100 endorsements, and certain other companies that you've worked with or other projects you've worked on can endorse you for those skills to recognize you for those skills. Endorsements are very important, but endorsements are cheap and easy because all it takes to endorse you is just a click. Click, click, click. So simple. It doesn't take brain cells to endorse somebody in the way it takes to recommend somebody in prose. So choose your skills wisely. Be sure you have the skills that somebody would be looking for. So when they say I'm searching for somebody on the LinkedIn search who has a skill in training, the training will pop up and qualify me as one of the people amongst the other skills they're searching for. Ask your connections to endorse your skills only if they know and have seen you perform those skills. And that's another ethics issue in some jurisdictions, that ethics bar associations taking a good hard look at your endorsements to be sure that people who really know you endorse you for the skills they've seen you perform. Really very important. Certifications, courses, patents, licenses, all of those things where you're qualified to sit at the bar, whatever other work you have done, whether you can argue at the Supreme Court or your state courts or whatever it is, please talk about this here. What bar associations you are a member of, another place to talk about it in certifications, because that is a certificate that you have earned. If you've earned it and you competed for it, show it. It further differentiates you. Keep it current. If you add a new bar or delete another bar, keep that current as well. And as you morph, as you change, as you advance, it can keep up with you. What honors have you received? You could be the best lawyer in Omaha, and you've been recognized by the Omaha Bar Association. Tell us why you earned that. Tell us what you earned it for. Just don't tell us you earned it, because then we have no information. Tell us why. What is lame? Why is meaningful? All these different things, honors and awards. Languages you speak. What dialects of languages do you speak? What publications have you written and have been published? On Law Line, New York Bar Association. I just had an article in the ABA Journal in June. All those things go into my publications. I want people to know I am active. I am opining continuously about the things I am expert in. And these are some of the ways I show it so that I don't have to substantiate myself verbally. Where do you volunteer? Why do you volunteer there? What do you get from volunteering there? What do you give them in trade to volunteer there? You offer your expertise to those who need it. Keep it current. What do you do? Why does it make you feel good? What is your earned reputation for working with them? Where did you go to school? Now, all of you have this. I'm certain of that. But tell us, if you wrote a paper that was awarded or rewarded, tell us what paper you wrote. Tell us what work you did. Just don't tell us you got the degree. Tell us what you also did while you were getting the degree that's part of your experience that you can do today. Remember, please put the years you went to school, because your classmates who are decision makers in their own field right now can find you and search for you on LinkedIn based upon all business school grads from George Washington University between 1977 and 1979 when I went there. And you can reconnect with them, and you will be amazed at how readily you can do business with them or influence them, and they influence you because you shared the experience of school. So please remember to put your years there. It will not be a surprise to them that you're in your 50s or your 60s or your 70s. They can tell by the number of years of experience of legal work you have how old or approximately how old you are. So don't be ashamed of the years you went to school. Groups on LinkedIn are great silos of information. You can join and contribute to all sorts of groups, alumni groups. We were just talking about where I'm an alum, special interest groups, local bars have a group, business chambers of commerce have a group. You can give information, you can ask for information in all of these types of groups. In my opinion, groups are largely broken on LinkedIn, although I am hearing flashes of people being happy with groups that they're in right now and really respecting the group manager for keeping the group interesting. It all depends upon how well the group does by the way the group is managed and the people that group manager manages to make the group worthwhile for all. Some do work. So it's a wonderful communication tool, and you do not have to be connected to somebody directly on LinkedIn to communicate with them directly in a group. That presumes you're both members of the group. When you ask a question on a group, ask an open-ended question. I'm creating a website for, are there features you'd like to see? Quick question. How many of you feel that this, that, or the other is coming up in the new year? Just, it elicits conversation. Unstructured conversation. Yes, no answers are not coming from this. Okay, probably the most important part of this presentation is about to come up. And that is, I'm going to talk to you about sharing, uploading posts. What you should be doing after you've perfected your LinkedIn profile, and how you keep that patina on that profile by demonstrating on a regular basis you really contribute, you are a giver. It is better to give than receive, and let me just show you what I can give and interpret what I'm seeing. So what are you doing? Often before a presentation, I'll say, final touches on a presentation for Justia, talking to 192 baby boomer lawyers about how they can improve their LinkedIn experience. What's important to you to share with others? Here's an article I read that I really like, and let me tell you why it's important. Just don't lay the article on them. Tell them from your lens, what is it you want them to focus on? I just finished reading a case, and it tells me that there's a change afoot, and this is what my comment is. I don't know, I'm making this stuff up as I go along. But these are typical, really valuable posts that people want to know because you are a thought leader with the experience that you project. Don't be shy. Don't think people don't want to know. Lots of attorneys I've met have said, I don't want to be telling people what to do. They didn't hire me for that. I get paid for that. Well, you know what? They want to know whether you're worthy to get paid for that. My opinion is show them enough to make them whet their appetite and make them want to contact you. Wow, I just read this piece that you wrote, really found it interesting. Can we have an offline conversation? I'd like to know how you can help me. That happens all the time. All right. It only reflects well on you and those you support. And you can use hashtags in your LinkedIn posts. The trend seems to be going away from hashtags. I still see people using hashtags. Many of the experts in LinkedIn that I follow and respect are still using hashtags. I'm of two minds. I've largely stopped. As you can see, this is an art and not a science. And so the reason to use hashtags is to call attention to areas that you are giving an opinion on, so others you do not know will see that you have a piece about that area. But you can use them to your satisfaction. So post and comment. Use the horn, and be sure that people know you have something important to project to them. You are posting to help. You're not posting to advertise. You're not posting to fraternize. You can post with source citations. Website URLs are fine. If you want to call certain people's names out in the post, at their name. Well, so long as they're on LinkedIn, if you put the @ sign and start typing their name, a drop-down menu will come out and you can click on the name and it will put their name in dark blue. And hashtag subjects, as we talked about before. Whenever you read a post and you want to comment, please comment in words. I thought this was a great post because. Thank you, John, for putting this out there. I really think that your perspective is important because I know you, whatever that is. Don't use emojis. Emojis are the thumbs up, the smiley faces, the clapping hands, all that silly stuff. We are far more intelligent than to use little emojis, little symbols. Please give it time and brain cells about why you appreciate the person. They get nothing of your appreciation by emojis. They don't know why you like something with a thumbs up. Comment to initiate conversation. Comment to change the conversation to an area you think it might want to go. Keep it educational. If you disagree, disagree professionally. We learn from disagreement when it's professionally projected. You want to make that immediate impression so people reading your profile know you are posting. People reading your post want to go to your profile. People that you're commenting on want to know what you commented on before. If you comment or post and invoke a name on the post, everybody you are connected to knows you are posting. Everybody, that person whose name is invoked, sees your post. It is a great way to get a lot of attention for a highly educational and noble reason. There are 4 major ways to post meaningful material on LinkedIn. So here's the wind up for the 4 or 5 most useful slides I'll give you. I want you to concentrate on 4 great ways to make the best posts you can, make them work for you. 1, what do you know that you want your LinkedIn connections and followers to know that they don't yet know? The tip of the iceberg concept. You want to share material that you find reliable. This just appeared in the Journal of whatever. This just appeared on the VAR Association newsletter that I'm reading. I think it's worth sharing, but just don't share it. Say, I want you to know about this because it's important for whatever reason. It helps you network with those that you already admire and trust because you've shared the connectivity. But for the reason that you're adding value to their day, you know something you want them to know. You can, maybe it's your study or maybe it's your research. Here's what I found. Here are the conclusions I've come from a research I've done. Would you tell me, others, what you believe to be the case? I just read something by so-and-so. Name them, give the URL of what you read. That's their contribution to me. I want you, my readers, to know about this. And here's why it's important to all of us. and evaluate the new developments that are always occurring in every one of our fields. Because not only through technology, but through just the discourse of humanity, we are continuing to add value to everything we touch. Okay, the second thing that you can do to make your post valuable is beyond what you're saying, I know. This is what I want my connections and followers to feel that they don't feel yet because they probably don't know it yet. So maybe it's a feel good. I had an emotional curiosity. I was curious about, and this is what I found. Chances are someone else was emotionally interested in that too. Other people find it cerebrally interesting. I find a lot of things interesting intellectually. I like to share those things. I know other people appreciate them because they tell me that. And it changes the way of their thinking, the way they're feeling, the way they're approaching their work. Somebody makes a contribution, I want to tell them I appreciate their contribution. And of course, everybody likes to be appreciated back. And it's not give and take in the same profile, in the same post rather. It can come to you, great post, Mark. You really changed my mind. That's a feel. I want to make my work part of theirs every bit as much as I want all my colleagues' work to be part of mine. And I want everybody to feel confident relying upon me to adding value to their day and that warm feeling that we're all here working with each other. Third way to make your posts fascinating. What do you want your connections and followers to believe that they don't believe yet? And that predicates on the fact that you've taught them something they didn't know, or you've taught them something they didn't feel. But once they believe, it's theirs for good. So it could be a fresh, radically different viewpoint that really makes them stop and evaluate. It could be an experience you've had. It could be an experiment you've tried. It could be an existential change that you're feeling is coming or you believe is here, and you want people to know because we're in a tremendous amount of flux and change right now. It could be research that you've done that leads you to believe that everything you knew up to now was not quite correct. And here's a new way to do something. And you take those beliefs and you adapt them to where we are today in this new now timing that we're in. And this is just an amazing opportunity for you to become an established, revered, recognized thought leader because you've given them facts, you've given them feeling, you've given them belief. The fourth place, what do you want them to do? Now that they know all this stuff, now that they know you are the real deal, how do you be the ball on the right to create the other balls that are inert and make them move? I'm sharing content every single day, multiple times a day. I'm commenting on their posts, they're commenting on my posts. I'm giving professional opinions, I'm receiving professional opinions. There is movement in my world. I am engaging others with me to converse on topics, and sometimes we take it offline and we go to town on it. I'm asking others to refer me to their friends. I'm referring others on a regular basis. Bob meet Jane, Jane meet Bob, Jane does this, Bob does that. You two have common ground. Let me hear great stuff coming from this. Here's their LinkedIn URLs. You guys go to it. Let me hear great stuff. I do what's called networking up. I try to find people who know more than me, and I try to learn from them at their feet, and I try to give them what I know, because sometimes I know something they might not know yet, or they might not have appreciated yet. We all have much to learn from each other, and I've really connected to people who are just top of the field in many of the things that I do, especially when I'm working for a client in a field I don't know the field that well. I try to find the shaker, the mover, who's making things go in that field. And I always ask, how can we help each other? What can I do for you? Who do you need to meet? What can I do to make your life better? That's the do. The best do you can add to any post is, please share my post with 5, or pick whatever number, of your favorite colleagues and tell them you thought of them when you read this, and they're complimented when they read it, and you look like a great person for sharing it, and I get a little bit of brownie points for having the original thought, and everybody's served. So please, please use these 4 different parts of your brain fire based upon what you know, what you feel, what you believe, what you do. I don't necessarily know biologically if it's in the right place on the brain, but nonetheless, it fell in really nicely there. These are the 4 things. If you can use these once, twice in the same post, or over the course of a week, you will stand out because people will say, wow, this person's saying things I never knew, I never felt, I never believed, I never thought to do. So back to the search really briefly as we begin to sum up here. The search engine is a giant search engine. If you were to search for Connecticut law, as you see in the graphic above, it will ask you, what do you want to do? You want to know who the people involved in Connecticut law, the companies, posts that have to do with Connecticut law, jobs available. It is a very, very vast place. Look for people you want to know and that others you know already know, like Tanya is already known to other people I know by virtue of the fact she's a second level connection. And if I want to know LaTanya, I might ask somebody to introduce me to LaTanya, or I might go to LaTanya directly and say, hey, LaTanya, you and I know Joe in common. I see you do this. I do that. I think we have common ground. Are you up for a phone call? Are you up for a Zoom chat? Be strategic. And if they don't immediately respond, ask again in a couple of weeks. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they were away. This is a tough time of year, of course. Don't stalk or badger them. Come back a little bit later and say, maybe you didn't see this. This is something new that I might be able to add to the conversation. Might we have a conversation about this? For companies and groups and content and schools, you can search on anything, any keyword, any combination of keywords. Titles, names of companies, people who worked at a company before, any of that sort of thing, by geography, by year they went to that school, as I said before. Find the common threads to partner along and make that partnership something that you would not have normally found unless you use the LinkedIn search. It's very, very powerful. See connectivity. Look at your connections. See, like I was saying about LaTanya, who can help you meet somebody by warming it up. If it's a second level connection, you think you have enough nerve or enough karma, go for it. Hey, let's connect. Let's see where it goes. Doesn't always work. And if you're going to be more distant than a second level connection, think about how to do this best, directly or indirectly. So one really important thing you can do right now is learn the very best way to offer a connection. And that is this. You ask properly. Noah, we had a great conversation today. So the date is the conversation. He may not read this for several days or weeks, but he can always go back and see who he spoke to about what, or remember the conversation. Hopefully it's memorable on June 8th. And I hope we have more upside for the future. Please join my amazing group of professional connections on LinkedIn. So that's pretty good. He and I got into the mix. We were talking already. Maybe you just had a chance meeting at a cocktail party. Greg, really great meeting you, comparing a little bit of our interconnectability. So let's connect so we can stay in touch. Not a lot of commitment there, but nonetheless, keeps it open. Anastasia, great meeting you last night. Hope to see you soon around Gotham, the group that I was a part of, that she's part of also. Gives her a lot more idea of where we intertwine. And join my amazing group of connections. Please never use the boilerplate connection language on LinkedIn. That's just lazy. No one connects to lazy. And the best you can do is when you have two people you want to connect who never knew each other. I sort of alluded this to before. Deirdre meet Rhonda, Rhonda meet Deirdre. I had the pleasure of meeting Rhonda this week, and we discussed our similar interests, primarily her work as a founder of whatever the organization, where she transfers high professional talent to new talent in the 21st century. Rhonda, since Deirdre is involved in this entrepreneurship program and can give you insight into how to work with them to help you with funding and initiatives for your organization, I think is a great opportunity for somebody to kick it off and let me hear great things coming from this. So I was able to put two people who did not know each other together as the fulcrum to make it work. And this was a very successful meeting for them, and quite a lot of good things came of it. All right. A couple wrapping up points here. In all you do on LinkedIn, and certainly all you do all the time, no typos ever, although you see me make typos, so I'm as guilty as anybody. No substandard grammar, no syntax errors. Do not mix formats on your LinkedIn profile. We have bullet points in one job description, and you have check marks in another as bullet points in another job description, and you have full sentences in the third one. Really be sure that you're looking at first impressions and attention to detail, and that no one would assume you're just not got your eye on the ball. This very, very bright marketing maven I know named Adrienne Miller said, focus on your strengths, showcase your talents, engage the slice of the LinkedIn community you're connected to, and do your best work and let the rest fall into place. And in a lot of ways, she's right. But the fall into place part is where I might professionally disagree to a certain extent. You have to keep committing to work LinkedIn. You've got to work it, massage it, and push it in everything you do. Now, psychologist Eric Erickson said, to be an adult, and we are, mature adults, boomer adults, is to see one's own life in continuous perspective. As the people reading your profile are seeing your career in one continuous perspective, in retrospect and in prospect. Your past makes your present makes your future. To selectively reconstruct the past in such a way that every step you took seems to have been planned, or better, seems to have planned it. So this is a huge quote. And if you tack this up on your bulletin board or put this up on your wall and follow this as you're writing your LinkedIn profile, you will not fail. And then again, Fast Company article I got this from has a really good perspective on it. And that link is on the bottom left. So these are review slides. I don't need to go into them for you. I want to leave enough time for questions. And I just want to leave you with a little bit of a summation and to challenge you. Because I'm a coach. I have to challenge you. This is what I do. I hope I've better focused you that you need to convey the war stories of your experience. You are in beta. You are not a completed project. That's quoting directly from Hoffman in The Startup of You, as I showed you that book. This is just the beginning of lots of stories and examples you can tell of why you do what you do that makes you the most valuable, fill in the blank, whatever that is. Be proud of your years of experience, your age, and the keenness of your vision. You should be sought, and others should know, and you need to tell them why you do what you do, that the entourage will endorse and gather around you and recommend you and refer you for your views and your insight. That's your challenge. Your challenge is to go look at your LinkedIn profile and ask yourself the bald question: if I did not know this person, being yourself, would I buy from me? And if the answer is maybe, or no, not really, because it's kind of jumbled and it doesn't tell me a story about why they're important, you've got your work cut out for you. So I am a LinkedIn laureate, self-called. I do one-to-one LinkedIn coaching with individuals, a lot of attorneys, one-to-one in 4 90-minute sessions over about 5 weeks' time with homework. I come into groups, I come into law firms, I come into companies and departments, and I train everybody, get everybody on an equal playing field. And I am a project marketing strategy. You have a crazy, wacky project, and you're trying to figure out how to attract the most people on LinkedIn. I have the way, I have the knowledge on how to make your marketing strategy use LinkedIn well. Those are my QR codes. There's my business card and my 2 books you see there. I am finally at the end of this, and I hope I've added some value to your day, but you are challenged, folks. I'm not letting up on you, and you shouldn't let up on yourself. This is your one time to tell why do you do what you do and how you're amazing than your competition. All right, Nina, I'm done. Now I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark, for your presentation and highlighting the importance of utilizing LinkedIn to market your firm. As I mentioned at the top of our presentation today, we can now move on to our question and answer portion. So if you have any questions for Mark, please feel free to submit them through that Q&A button in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. It looks like we've already got a few here. So the first one talks about your comments throughout the presentation seem to apply to multi-employee law firms. How does a solo practitioner maybe differ in their usage of LinkedIn?
That is such a good question. I'm so glad they asked that. All right. If you're a sole practitioner, you have nobody else to market your business except you. It's even more important that you make everybody who touches you on your website, on your LinkedIn profile, on whatever social media, it all has to be arranged and respoken in different ways and said in different ways so that the audience you're attracting knows you, appreciates you, knows that there's nobody else, the buck stops with you. That is, as a solo practitioner, the hardest thing about what I do. And I hold myself to the highest quality. If I had a poor LinkedIn profile, I'd be a very lonely, very skinny, and very poor guy.
Thanks, Mark. Our next question is, how can I utilize paid advertising on LinkedIn and find my target audience using that?
LinkedIn, excuse me, has an entire tutorial on using paid advertising. It is excellent. It is deep and it is long, but it's expensive to advertise on LinkedIn. So if you have not already gone through the exercise with a marketing expert about who your target market is, you're not ready to advertise on LinkedIn. So please, I've just saved you thousands and thousands of dollars. Get your idea organized. If you need a marketing expert to market your firm, whether it's multi-person or solo, there are going to be different people and different organizations. Find out what they did and how they did it successfully with somebody else. You can take style notes from that. You can see successes. It is a very fine art to advertise on LinkedIn. I see very few law firms advertising on LinkedIn unless they're the big national global law firms. And then I see some fairly mediocre advertisements from them. They have to be memorable. You have to dare to be memorable. I think that's why law firms typically do better elsewhere. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. This could be virgin territory for you in a law firm in an area of the law that you want to really make an impact. But it's a very hard question to answer directly. I don't know what type of law you're in. I don't know the size of the firm. I don't know what your expertise is, whether what the marketing niche that you're in. Please understand that before you go in and try to buy LinkedIn advertising.
Thanks, Mark. Our next question is, are honors and awards that are outside of my profession relevant or helpful to my LinkedIn profile?
Yes, 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 and yes. Okay. So here's why. You're not just an attorney. You're a community member. Maybe you're politically active. Maybe you are involved in mentoring college or school age kids in the inner city. I don't know. There's so many things you could be doing. Show why that's important to you. Show why you do it. In the volunteer experience section, tell why you're on that board. What expertise do you bring to that board? Maybe it's your legal expertise, but what else are you doing from your other experience, your sage years of experience, 40 years of working? That's what we want to know. We're not buying you for the kid that you're helping through school. We're buying you for the good person you are for being there for that kid. So yeah, we get an award. Tell us how many people competed for that award. Why were you nominated for that award? Why did you win that award amongst other 250 people? And show me the picture of you in the local newspaper holding the award. Show us, because you know what? That tells me you're proud of that award. You're proud of the work you did, and there's proud of the fact that you were able to help others in doing it. It's not about the ego. It's about who you're helping along the way.
Thanks, Mark. Our next question is, how can I identify my unique why in a way that feels authentic but still marketable?
A, read, start with why. B, read it again. C, watch the video. Okay. Everybody I've ever shown that book or told to read that book has written pages and pages of notes. It will come to you. Please, whoever asked that question, do not think in one reading of the book you're going to sit down and scribble out the best why in the world. You won't. I've been doing LinkedIn training for 14, 15 years now. I will tell you, I still do not love my why. I still do not love the way it's been written, but I rewrite it every time I get a chance, or at least calendarize it every 3 months to see, does it really reflect what I love and passionate enough to do? Why me? Why do I do it? What makes me feel good about getting in the office and doing that for other people? If you can't articulate your why, you're never going to figure out what you want to do, and people will never want to work with you. So this is probably like I said, it's the hardest thing to write. It's really hard to write into 220 characters in your headline. You get more space to expand on it in your about. It's just let it run, let it happen. So let me give you a tip about writing material on LinkedIn. And I didn't mention this before, and it's an oversight on my part. For every section that you're going to write on LinkedIn, open a blank screen on Microsoft Word or whatever word processing you're using and start writing. And spell check it and save it. And the next day, when you're fresh again, open another blank screen and do it again. Fresh, and spell check it and save it. And about 6 or 7 iterations of this, print them all out on paper, take an old-fashioned highlighter and highlight the best of each of the 6 or 7 pages, and then begin to merge them. It's so simple and so effective. And I'll tell you, I have so many people squealing with delight that they can't believe how easy it was to do this. It just took a few tries. That's all it is. It's trial and error.
Awesome. I think we have time for just one more question here. So the next question is, how can I highlight my years of experience without sounding outdated or like I might be resistant to change?
You talk about the transferable skills that you bring to the table. Those are skills like client appreciation. They override the technicals. They override the electronics. They are things that are not practiced enough these days that need to be practiced more. Just as an example, you can talk about whatever story is timeless from your past and find the skill that that story tells and get people to recommend you for that skill that they've seen you perform. And it will override the fact that maybe that story came from 1973 or whatever year it was. Doesn't matter. We still need the same things. At the end of the day, we just have different ways of getting there. So please take a look at your profile. You are not going to sound like an old fuddy-duddy. You're going to sound like somebody who's got their finger on the pulse of what's going on right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for that additional insight. And thank you all for sending in your questions. We want to thank you for joining us for another Justia webinar. I wanted to remind you all, as I did at the top of the presentation, of the services available to you through our website platform, Justia Elevate. It's our innovative, feature-packed website solution designed specifically for law firms. Built on a powerful WordPress platform, Justia Elevate offers cutting-edge tools, one being our Justia AI Writer, which helps you craft content for your website effortlessly, and our AI-powered Justia Chat, which allows you to connect to clients in a whole new way. You can elevate your firm's digital presence starting at just $82.50 per month when billed annually. If that sounds intriguing and you'd like to maybe see what the cost would be for your firm, you can go to elevate.justia.com/price or give us a call at 888-587-8421. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next clip.